Hello dear students, welcome to another session. In this session we're going to continue working on the factorizing part, and in this lesson specifically we're going to learn and work about factorizing by completing the square. Let's remember that in the perfect square trinomial, the middle term equals positive or negative 2 times the square root of the first term multiplied by the square root of the third term. And also remember that the factorization will be a bracket, the square root of the first term plus or minus the square root of the third term, all squared. To complete a perfect square, the steps are, the first thing, we're going to add and subtract the middle term that we got as 2 times root first term times root the third term. After that, we're going to use the factorize by grouping second case, and then a perfect square minus a perfect square monomial. After that, we're going to factorize using the difference between two squares. Let's go and apply this in exercise number 1. First of all, we need to find the middle term. So when I write MT, it means for me the middle term. The middle term is 2 multiplied by the square root of the first term multiplied by the square root of the second term. So it is 2 multiplied by 2x squared multiplied by y squared, which is 4x squared y squared. After that, we're going to add this as a middle term and also subtract it again to make the equation as it is. So these three terms are now forming a perfect square as 2x squared plus y squared all squared minus, and here it is 2xy all squared. Let's make two brackets now. The first term 2x squared plus y squared. Once it's plus the 2xy, which is the second term, and in the other bracket the first term minus the second term, which is negative 2xy. Question 2. The middle term is 2 times the square root of m power 4 is m squared, and the square root of n power 4 is n squared. So the middle term is 2m squared n squared. And this one is kind of different because the 11 m squared n squared, we are going to separate it as 2m squared n squared as a middle term and 9m squared n squared as the last term. Here in the question it was negative 11m squared n squared, so it would be separated as negative 2m squared n squared and negative 9m squared n squared. So to rewrite this, it's m power 4. Here is the minus 2m squared n squared plus the n power 4, and then we put the minus 9m squared n squared. These three terms are forming a perfect square as m squared minus n squared all squared minus, and the 9m squared n squared is 3mn all squared. How to factorize this then? Here are two brackets multiplied together using the difference of two squares. So it's m squared minus n squared. One time we write as 3mn, and in the other time it's m squared minus n squared minus the 3mn. Question number 3, how can I factorize this? The first thing we do is we find the middle term. The middle term is 2 times square root of the first term times square root of the second term. So the middle term is 18 x squared. So here we're going to make x squared plus the 18x squared plus the 81, and don't forget the plus 9x squared of the question minus the 18x squared that we got by subtracting the middle term. So to simplify this, it's x power 4 plus 18x squared plus 21, and the plus 9 minus 18 is minus 9x squared. My target is to form a trinomial perfect square minus a binomial minus a monomial perfect square. So, and this one will be x squared plus 9 all squared minus 3x all squared. The two brackets that we're going to factorize are now x squared plus 9 minus 3x and x squared plus 9 plus the 3x. Another question in question 4, we find the middle term, that is 2 multiplied by the square root of the first term times the square root of the second term. So the middle term is now 100 a squared b squared. We're going to add and subtract the middle term, so it's a plus 4, so it's a power 4 plus 100 a squared b squared plus 2500 b power 4 minus 100 a squared b squared. The first three are making a perfect square trinomial as a squared plus 50b squared minus the second one is 10ab all squared. To factorize this, here are the two brackets. The first term is a squared plus 50b squared, and the second squared is 10ab, and here in this one a squared plus 50b squared, and the second term is 10ab. One between them is plus and the other one is a minus, or even the opposite, it doesn't matter. Question 5, how to factorize this expression. As you can see that, as you all know, we have to find the middle term. How to find the middle term? It's 2 times square root of the first term times the square root of the second term. It will be 6x squared. So in this one, it's 9x power 4 plus 6x squared plus 1, and here is the plus 2x squared with a minus 6x squared. So if you simplify the like terms together, it will be 9x power 4 plus 6x squared plus 1 minus 4x squared. The first three terms are forming a perfect square, 3x squared plus 1 all squared, minus the second one is forming a perfect square as 2x all squared. After that, we're going to factorize 3x squared plus 1 plus the 2x, and 3x squared plus 1 minus the 2x. Question 6, the same idea. Yes, we're going to find the middle term, which is 2 square root of the first one times square root of the second one. So here what we're going to do is that we're going to add the middle term once and subtract it another time. So x power 4 plus 2x squared y squared, which is the middle term, plus y power 4. Here what we have as x squared y squared from the question minus the middle term. Don't forget to subtract the middle term. So it will be x power 4 plus 2x squared y squared plus y power 4 minus x squared y squared. The first three are making a perfect square trinomial as x squared plus y squared all squared, minus the second one is xy all squared. So to factorize this, here are the two brackets as x plus y minus xy and x plus y plus xy. To factorize question 7, yes, as the previous ones, we're going to find the middle term. It's 2 square root of the first term times square root of the second term, which will be 6x squared y squared. X power 4, we always put the positive 1 in here in the middle, plus 9y power 4. And here is the minus 19 that we already have in the question. And then we put the subtraction of the middle term. So it will be, if you simplify this, x power 4 plus 6x squared y squared plus 9y power 4 minus 25x squared y squared. As a perfect square, this one is x squared plus 3y squared minus 5xy all squared. So here, the difference between two squares, it's x squared plus 3y squared minus 5xy, and here it's x squared plus 3y squared plus 5xy. Last question in this type. Before we go to question 8, I want to remind you that before you do any of the factorizing methods, remember to check for the HCF first, because the priority goes to the HCF to factorize with first, and then if you can do another further factorization, yes, please do. But the first thing is the HCF. So here in this one, it's not a perfect square, but it has an HCF which is 3. So if you divide all by 3, it will become 9x power 4 minus 10x squared y squared plus 3 plus y to the power of 4. So the middle term in here is 2 times the square root of the first term, which is 9x power 4, and the square root of the third term, which is y squared. So here it will be 6x squared y squared. After we find the middle term, let's go and add the middle term. So it's 9x power 4 plus 6x squared y squared plus the y power 4. Here is the minus 10x squared y squared minus the 6x squared y squared, which is the middle term. So here's the 3. It's 9x power 4 plus 6x squared y squared plus y power 4 minus 16x squared y squared. So we can see here that this one is a perfect square trinomial, which is 3x squared plus y squared all squared, minus the other one, it's 4xy all squared. To factorize this, here is the 3, and the two brackets that we have are the first term, which is 3x squared y squared minus 4xy, and the 3x squared, here there's a plus y squared plus the 4xy.